Welcome to Macon Memories. I'm Lynda Wright at Randolph-Macon College, and today I'm interviewing Lionel Abrams from the physical plant. And it is September 9th, 2019. Lionel, can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how you happened to come to work at Randolph-Macon?
Sure. I grew up in Ashland. I've been here all my life. My dad was employed at Randolph-Macon, and he worked here for 35 years to 40 years, if I can remember correctly. Me as a little child was introduced to the college as a child coming down here with him working. We used to, at that time, we were able to come here as children when they worked overtime or whatever, and we could work with them. So I've been around here all my life.
Yeah.
So I've met a lot of kids, students here. I started actually working here during the summers at age 14.
Do you remember some of the things you did when you were that young?
I started in the janitorial section, and the older people would train. If you had a child of age, during the summers, you could bring the child here and let them be employed by the college.
Yeah.
So that's how I started.
Yeah.
At the college. And we used to clean all the halls. At that time, we didn't have a lot of summer camps. So we used to clean the halls. We had the whole summer to go through and pull all the beds and strip everything, wax the floors, and all the dorms, all the academic, all the classrooms.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much our summer.
Yeah.
It just goes back so far, just about all the people that were working here. Their kids worked here, so I knew all of their kids, even to our Andrew's sons. Just so many of them that lived here. But things were a whole lot different then, a little more calmer.
Yeah.
But, it's busier now.
Well, if you had the whole summer to clean all those buildings and refinish the floors and that sort of thing, or wax and clean the floors, that's very different because we're busy all year round, just about.
We are.
So you have to fit all of that in.
We
in a few
now
breaks.
Contract people out to come in because we have to have it done right after commencement to start camps. So we contract all of that work out now. And then we go in after the camp has come and left to re-clean the rooms and make sure, but the rooms are officially clean for school, but even though we do the cleaning.
So you have to kind of supervise all of that.
Yes.
Well, when you came to work full-time, you said, you told me earlier you came right after graduating high school.
I did. I was actually working before I graduated, but my graduation took place during the time when I was working, and I went to my graduation, and then the very next day I was working.
Well, good. You were lucky you had a job.
I had a job.
Yeah.
I had a job. We actually graduated. Patrick Henry graduated at Randolph-Macon College.
Oh, your commencement was here. Where was
was here in the gym, the Crenshaw gym.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because now they do them downtown, the Siegel Center.
Yes.
But so you graduated here on campus.
Yes.
So you were feeling right at home.
I was right at home. I left work, went home, changed clothes, came back for commencement, and left commencement, went out to eat, and was back the next morning for work.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. And were you directly under your father at that time when you were working?
No. There was a guy that worked here by the name of Henry Lee Tolliver.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about him.
Tolliver, yeah. And he worked here, and his side person that worked in was Lewis Pollard. And they were the custodian bosses, as you would say. And we worked under them wherever they told us to go or whatever they told us to do. That's what we did. At that time, we used to move a lot of furniture. We used to strip and wax the floors. Whatever needed to be done during that summertime, we did it. And they had young people, so they could use us to do a lot of the lifting and stuff. So
Do the heavy lifting. Well, tell me a little bit about Henry Lee Taliaferro, because I've heard his name mentioned by a lot of alumni. remembering when they move in the dorms or
Yes.
different things?
Well, Henry Lee did a lot for him. A lot at that time. A lot, whatever the students needed, Henry Lee could find it and get it for them. And so, you always knew he was coming because he was very loud.
Oh.
He had a good yelling voice that he didn't have to really get out and come in there. So we would go to the door and see whatever he wanted or wherever he wanted us to go.
Yeah.
So whatever he instructed us to do, that's what we did. And back then it wasn't a whole lot of application filling out and stuff like that. So some people records weren't there. Like we had an employee come in, Billy Flowers. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he used to run Flowers Variety Store down on the railroad. And once he closed the stores, he came here to work. And his information was never found because he didn't fill out an application. It was friend of a friend.
Right.
He came and he started actually working in the bookstore with Barclay the Priest, and then he got moved to the gym and he was working with Ted Keller, which was in athletics, and then he was shifted to housekeeping. So nobody had the information to figure out how he really started at the college. And I had to backtrack it from memory.
Yeah.
Because I remember when he came.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's just been ongoing from that point. Like I said, I was very young. I started really young, and been here ever since.
Well, you mentioned a couple of different divisions in the physical plant. So tell me a little bit about the structure of physical plant. I know there's housekeeping and the gym and some different divisions. Talk about that a little bit and how it's changed over the time.
Well, when I started, the physical plant actually was the little brick building out from the physical plant that's now used as a carpenter shop. Had 2 offices in it, a center area that they used for the break room, and then everything that they used to store in the mechanical room. And all of us used to report there. And then, we got our assignments and we went out. I was in the cleaning janitorial service at that time for 1 year. And there was a guy that worked in the setups area, which came in. He used to come in every day and pick with me and joke with me and so forth until finally he was like, you're a good worker. You mind coming over to the physical plant and help me do setups? So that's how I ended up at the physical plant, coming out of janitorial. And I went over with him and we started doing that. And then an opening came for a supervisor for the custodial group. And I took that. And then as it was 2 of us, actually, me and a lady by the name of Brenda Lane, which she was, if you ever heard of the Emersons.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she was a sister-in-law to the Emersons. She's married one of the Emersons.
Okay.
But she fell in that way. But she was the supervisor. We called I guess you would call it the east side of campus. We used to call it the down campus, and the west side we would call up campus. So I was on up campus, and she was on down campus. And she supervised down campus. I supervised up campus, and it was probably like 2 years afterward they decided to make a change. So my immediate boss at that time it was Jim Chrisman. He left, and Brenda left the same day, and I got told that either I would take the position that he had, or I could probably look for another job.
Oh, okay.
So I took the position, and I've been in it ever since. And this was like I want to say like 1995.
Wow. And so the name of that position is?
I'm a housekeeping manager.
Housekeeping manager. Wow. So you've been doing that for 20 years. Yeah. 25 years almost. Yeah. Well, congratulations.
But coming up next year, June, it'll be 40 years that I've been employed at Randolph Macon.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, good. And so, who was in charge of all the physical plant? You and Brenda took Brenda. I mean, you were promoted to housekeeping supervisor. But.
Yeah, at that time it was the Emersons.
Still was the Emerson.
Lawrence Emerson was over top of the physical plant, and when I came in is when President Payne started here. And I never forget it because when I first started work, most of those guys had been here for a while, and they were looking at just getting 2 weeks of vacation.
Yeah.
And when President Payne came in, he changed all of that, and he immediately gave us 3 weeks of vacation.
Oh, that's great.
And they were upset with me because I was just starting as a new employee, and I got 3 weeks of vacation, and it took them 10 years to get 2 weeks of vacation.
Right.
But it was all good. It was all good. It worked itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, let me see here. So you were talking about some of the people on campus. Talk about you started when President Payne came, and I know you were on campus as a young person, and you said you knew Dr. Moreland or saw him around campus.
We used to call him Gerald Moreland.
That's right.
And he used to walk campus every day. There was a guy by the name of Stuart Lewis that used to go and pick him up. It was always on. He picked him up daily. He picked him up Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and would bring him to the library. And he said he was doing research. And he would stay here until 3 p.m. and then you would take him back home. On Tuesdays and Thursdays were the days that he would go to town and to this little spa, and you had to take him in. He would go get pampered. You'd stay there and wait for him. And
in Richmond, when you say
Richmond.
town.
Yeah, in Richmond. I couldn't even think of the name of the place now, but we used to take him there on Tuesdays and Thursdays unless he had something else planned. You would take him there. You wait for him, bring him back. He normally would finish by lunchtime. And you would bring him back and take him to the library so he could sit in there and do his little work, and then he would leave, and you would pick him up at 3 p.m. and take him home. And that was pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. So we really got to know him very well, got to meet some of his children when they came to town, and some of his grandkids when they came to town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I knew he used to come in the library and spend time because we had an alumnus who was very generous to the library, and he would come here and work as well. And the two of them would spend time together. J. Reeves Childs, who was the alumnus.
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Childs?
I did.
Yes. Well, tell me what you remember about Mr. Childs.
Not a whole lot. I know that they would meet, and I know that they would come in and kind of socialize a little bit. And when it was time to pick up Dr. Moreland, he was always on time. Yeah. Granted, he was always on time, but they would come out talking and, laughing and so forth. And then, we'll go their separate ways. But so I don't remember a whole lot about him, but I know that he would meet him.
Yeah, they would spend time together here. This was their place. They liked to work together.
Yes.
And I think one of the former library directors, Flavia Owens, she was the one who would provided them some office space.
Yes.
Well, tell me what you remember about her, because I always love to get as many memories of her as I can. She
was a type of lady that she was very. You knew what she wanted. She told you directly what she wanted. So we didn't do a whole lot in the library, only when it was requested to come in here and do a lot. So she was a very direct person. She told us what she wanted. She told us what she needed us to do, and beyond that, really wasn't too bothered.
Right. Right.
Beyond that, she was about business.
Yeah.
She was definitely about business.
Yeah.
But I mean, a very decent person. I remember when she was here, and I remember when she retired.
She retired when this new about the time they were building the new building and everything.
Yes. Because I remember the old building, and it was facing Henry Street, and it had a little block on there saying that it was built in 1961, which I remember because I was born in 1961. So that date stuck with me. Yeah. And it was totally different. And then when they came along and redid the new building, well, they just reconstructed it. Yeah. And it was, when we walked in here, it was like, oh Lord, it looked like an airport because it looked so long.
Right.
From what it used to look.
And then they put the entrance on this.
Yes,
on the
they
side.
moved the entrance to the side from the street because at that time there was no sidewalks or anything out there. So
Interesting. Well, can you talk about anybody at the college who was a special mentor to you? I know you came here at a young age. You mentioned your father, but and maybe Henry Lee Talaferro might have been a mentor. But anybody who sort of brought you along?
When I came out of the dorms working, I was working with a guy by the name of Bootsy Connier. His real name was Alvin Connier, but we used to call him Bootsy. And Bootsy was the type of person, he took me on his wing. He had me out there doing setups, and it was very interesting because what I found out years ago, a lot of people would have people work with them, and you would always wonder why they had people working with them. And later on down the road, I realized that a lot of people that was handling their jobs at work couldn't read. Mm. And they had somebody that was working with them that could read. Mm-hmm. And Bootsy was one of them. And, not that it was a problem because he never told me, but I learned in just watching, the way that he would give me instructions, and he would go in and get his instructions. He'd come back and he would go through it detailed, meaning just the way it was told to him. That's how he knew it. Mm-hmm. And so, but it was good. He taught me how to drive a stick shift, first of all, because most of the vehicles were old and stick shift. Yep. And I never knew how to drive it. And he promised me he would teach me how to drive it. He was going to take me out on the football field and teach me how to drive the stick shift. And the very next day, he was out sick. Oh. So I had to get in the truck and drive the truck. And I was going till about lunchtime in one gear, all the way around campus in one gear, because that was the only gear I knew. And I was like, it's got to be more to it than this. And that's when I learned how to drive a stick.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Sink or swim. It was a stick on the column, not the stick in the floor. It was the stick on the column. So, So when he came back, I was good.
He might have done that on purpose.
Maybe, may have, but he taught me a lesson. Yeah. He taught me a lesson, but he we would always get everything done. He was always point to making sure we got everything done. Like I said, we would get our instructions that morning, and everything that was on those sheets that we needed for every event, every setup that we need to have. We used to set up for admissions. Yeah. Taking mattresses to whoever that said that they would allow a student to stay in their room.
Oh, you mean bring an extra mattress in?
We would take extra mattresses. We used to have them stored, and we would have to, every time that they did a sleepover, where they had students stay in other students' rooms just to get a feel of the college, we would have to load the truck up and unload the truck and take them to the rooms that students say that they would do it. Uh-huh. And then once the students left, we would go back and get them and put them back up. Wow. Yeah, it was different. It was different. We used to have to cover the gym floor with this paperish stuff.
And that was the alumni gym?
Crenshaw.
Okay, you covered. Okay, Crenshaw gym.
We used to cover the Crenshaw gym. The alumni was considered the old gym, so they didn't use that for a lot. Yeah. At that time, they basically used the Crenshaw for the big events. Yeah. Yeah. That
was before we had the Brock Center.
Exactly.
So that was your largest
Before
space.
the Brock Center, there was an infirmary that ran right behind the gym. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, one of the ladies that used to work there, I actually had a chance to meet her last Thursday. I remember her being there as a nurse. Oh. And her name was, I want to get this right, Mrs. Keaton.
Miss Keaton.
Mm-hmm. She was I don't know if you remember, we had an employee here by the name of Jeff Keaton.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it was his mother.
Oh, Mrs. Keaton. Well, Jeff, I know. I'll just say for the record, he was in the housekeeping staff, and he was in charge of the housekeepers at the library. So we saw him. He helped us when we had special projects. Yes. And I was so sorry to hear of his death.
Still dealing with that.
No,
Still
that was
dealing
a shock.
with that.
But his mother was a nurse in the old infirmary.
Yeah, and she used to be it was a group that used to come here during the summer called the Miniature Doll Group. And they used to bring in all these creations of doll houses with little tiny miniature dolls. Oh. And they would use the whole gym. And they would have all the bleachers pull out with all these little doll houses and miniature dolls and so forth and they would sell them.
Oh, interesting.
They would sell them, and when I went to visit her last Thursday, I saw where she had some displays still in the house, and it just brought back memory to me of her, being there. And I sit there and I talk with her. She's 90 years old now, and I sit there and I talk with her, and I was asking her about the dolls, and her memory immediately came back to her about when they were there. And there was another employee here by the name of Mary Maxwell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mary Maxwell used to bring Miss Keaton to work.
Oh, okay.
And to deal with the miniature dolls when she came to work, because Miss Keaton didn't drive. And we were just talking about that Friday. About her bringing
And I interviewed
her in.
Mary Maxwell with this project
Yeah.
a few years ago, and
So we go way back.
Yeah. Well, she was here a long time. She's retired from the college about 3 different times, I think.
Yes, but she came back and she was working 2 days during the week. But
she's really dedicated.
and she was my go-to person. When I first started dealing with her, she had a lot to deal with Susan Donovan at the time, and I miss Susan. I ran into her last week, and we talked because we hadn't seen each other in such a while. But Mary worked under Susan, and Mary was my go-to person. If there was something wrong that needed to be addressed, Mary would call me. It was like clockwork.
And
She would call me, and you don't really have that now. Like over in the Rodin house, if something's wrong, unless you walk up in there and see it, but Mary would always call and say, "Hey, we need to get this done."
and that's what you needed. That she was helping you out.
Yes, she helped me out a lot.
Yeah, that was good.
With that. But I miss Mary. I realized after her husband passed, it was time for her to spend some time with her grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she'd given so many years to the college. So
She really had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can you talk about your relationship with students? Did you have much interaction with students over the years, or?
I've had a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Back when I first started, we pretty much knew all of the students. You would learn them and know them. It's been a lot that has passed through this way that I can remember. I really can't remember names, but I do know it is a lot. And as I've seen alumni come back sometimes, you remember them. And it's like, oh, wow. Like I ran into a young lady. Her name was Keisha Bell. And she was a basketball player.
I was going to say, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And I ran into her not long ago at a funeral service. And this lady was one of the ladies that used to clean her dorm, that she took under her wing, Nellie Tarrow. When she passed, Keisha, and I didn't know it, but Keisha has stayed in touch with her. And every so often she would take her to her house and just spend the weekend with her, because she cherished her like she was her mom.
Isn't that dear?
And they stayed in touch all the way up until her burial.
Wow, that's lovely.
That was beautiful, because at that time I think Keisha was living in Maryland. So she would come all the way down here, pick her up, and take her up to her house for the weekend. And just spend time with her, and then bring her back so she could be back to work that Monday.
That's wonderful. That is a very strong.
It really is. And my dad, Henry Abrams, he had the same relationship with the guys that worked in Star Dorm.
Okay.
If they lived in Star Dorm, that was his preference. Jack Luck. Jack Luck lived in Star Dorm.
Yeah.
So my dad wouldn't buy a car from nobody but Jack Luck.
Well, good. And I bet he helped him out.
Yes,
and got
he
a
did.
Good deal.
Yes, he did. But it had to come from Jack Luck.
Yeah.
And it was another guy. I think he ended up being a dentist or something. But he used to live right out here for Route 54. And whenever he came back to town, he would always look my dad up and would always come and get him and take him out to dinner and stuff. So, the students were very, very partial to the people that worked in the dorms and stuff.
Got to know them.
They really got to know them, and they really appreciated them. And even over the years, as the years passed, they still would come back and look them up, see if they were still around, and do stuff for them.
Yeah.
Just show their appreciation.
Yeah.
It meant a lot. It meant a lot to my father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's good. And how many years did you say your father worked here?
he was here for 35 years. So,
So
I'm kind of outweighing him a little bit now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he was here for 35
Well,
years.
you got a
He
much
left,
earlier start, probably.
I did, because he left. I'm not sure what year it was, but actually I was his boss.
Oh. Well, then tell me how that
Ooh.
went on. How that,
At first, I did not think it was gonna go well.
Yeah.
Because he's still looking at me. You my child,
Yeah.
and I'm your father, and so we had to have a little sit down talk.
Yeah.
And the conversation went as, at work, I'm your boss.
Right.
And when we leave work, you're my dad.
Yeah.
And he respected that. He respected that. He never gave me any issues, any problems.
Yeah.
And he retired, and then he came back. At that time, we could have part-time people.
Yeah.
So he came back and he was working part-time, like 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Until his health failed.
Yeah.
And I was the one that had to go to him and tell him that he no longer had a job.
Oh my goodness! Once he was part-time.
Yes,
Oh.
because his health had gotten so bad that
Uh-huh.
he couldn't do the work, and that was a hard thing. That was a real hard thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I called my mom and I asked her. I said, I'm gonna have to tell Dad that we're gonna have to get rid of his position, and that was the biggest time that she ever said to me. She was just like, just come out here and tell him.
Oh, you didn't do it at work. You went home.
No,
You went
because he was out sick.
Oh, I see. So you had.
I had to go to the home, and I had to let him know that his job was no longer there. And I had to tell him that I needed to get his uniforms, and he was sitting there looking at me with tears in his eyes, but it had to be done.
Yeah. Well, that is tough
Yeah.
because you were wearing the supervisor hat, but you were at your parents' home.
Exactly.
So that must have been
It was very tough.
very tough.
It was very tough.
Uh-huh.
So I've seen a lot happen. I've been to. Actually, I consider myself very fortunate because I came in young, and I worked under a lot of the employees here, and with a lot of the employees here that was already staffed, female and male. In our group, of course, everybody was older than I was. So when I assumed the position as manager, I realized at an early stage that I had to earn their respect. So, and to earn it, you had to give it. So I had to give them respect to get their respect, and they did respect me.
Well, you were wise beyond your years.
Yeah.
Now, what year did you get this supervisor position?
It was 95.
In 1995. So you'd been here about almost 15 years, but still you were younger than
Yes.
most of them
Yes.
who maybe had been here long,
And
longer.
they taught me a lot.
Right.
You know,
And then-
I met the first female custodian that was hired, and her name was Myrtle Cross. And she used to live out in Berkeleytown, but she was the first female hired for custodial service because, Randolph Macon used to be all boys.
Right.
And when they started bringing females in, she was actually the first one. And great person. Great person. And she got to a place where she was able to retire, and she died that week.
Oh my goodness.
And that took me through a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you see a person work basically all their life
Yeah.
and not even have an opportunity to enjoy it. Yeah.
Wow. You have seen quite a bit.
I've seen a lot. I've been to a lot of funerals recently of
Yeah.
employees that were employed
Yeah.
here. And I try to go and represent from the college. So I try to attend basically everybody's funeral that unfortunately pass on. So it's been I guess you would call it an emotional roller coaster for me.
But that's good that you're doing that as you're representing,
Yeah,
and you're doing that in
yeah.
your supervisor role. So
Yeah.
you take that really seriously.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, what are some of the things you're most proud of from your work at Randolph Macon?
Well, when I was told when I first came here, once you got in a position, you weren't able to move. Once especially in the custodial line, because there really wasn't a whole lot of place to go there, and I moved 3 times. I started off as a custodian, and I went from there to events, and then I came back as the supervisor of custodial, and now I'm the manager of custodial. So I've kind of moved around. I was able to travel a little bit for the school with the Apple program to take courses on it. It's a 4-year program.
Oh, and what's it called again?
It's called the Apple.
Okay.
They do APP.
Oh, okay.
And it's really good for anybody that's in the physical plants services.
Yes, yeah.
And they teach you a lot. They teach you how to deal with them. But they are normally, it happens once a year for a week, and it's different locations. So I got to go to Canada. I got to go to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Wow.
One was local, and they was like, no, don't go to that one because it's local. And I was like, no, because it's a 4-year process, and I wanted to get it done. So that was in Norfolk.
Yeah.
So I went to Norfolk, and then I went to Georgia.
Wow, for a week each time for training. Well, that's wonderful.
And at that time, I had never flown, so I was like, I can't fly. I need to drive. So the first one I drove to was Georgia.
Okay.
I drove down there. The college provided the car and so forth, and I drove to Georgia, and I drove to Norfolk, and Scottsdale could not drive.
Yeah.
By that time, I had joined the Navy Reserves, so I was in the Navy Reserves as well, and had to fly.
And that worked out fine for you, I
Yeah,
assume.
that was 1995. I joined the Navy Reserves, and I did 10 years with the Navy Reserves. And I actually came out when the war was going on. So I came out in 2003 as a reservist, but very interesting wartime because I did get sent over.
Anywhere where you had to called up?
Yeah, I was called. We had to go because I was with a station from Williamsburg and at Chinamanex, and we were cargo handlers. So being a cargo handler, you had to be able to go over there and offload the stuff that the Army needed. So I was right in the midst of it.
So where'd you go?
Kuwait.
Oh,
I was in Kuwait right when that war started.
Oh, right. Well, how long were you there?
I was there only 6 months. I was there for 6 months.
And the college has to hold your job if you're in the reserves?
The college only has to hold your job for, 3 years at the most? Wait a minute, I think it's 3 months.
3 months is all they're obligated.
Right, legitly. But they held my position.
Well, that speaks well.
They did.
Yeah.
They held the position, and of course, you have to come back and get everything straight. But my folks, my supervisors had packed my little stuff up like I won't coming back. But it was. They
didn't have much faith either in the war effort,
war was kind of bad, and you know what? I had to prepare myself. I had prepared myself because we were really in the midst of it. When we got there, they threw our stuff in the sand, and we had to build tents and so forth. There was no means of contact back here without walking a mile to use the phone. If you got on the phone and you lost contact, that was your call. So, and I think when I made my call, my parents was deceased at the time. So when I made the call, I called back here to the college, and I talked to a lady at the physical plant. Her name was Pat Glessner. And that was the only call that I got to go through that I was able to talk to someone.
That you were okay, and just to say hello.
Just to say hello, hey, I'm here, I'm okay,
Was this Desert Storm?
No, this was Afghanistan.
Oh,
Iraqi.
after the 2001. After the 2001.
Yeah, that was the Iraqi war.
Wow. Wow.
So, I was there for that time frame. I came back, and they let me out. It was 2003, I think, when I actually got my honorable discharge papers. Because I was actually supposed to come out 2 years prior to that, because I was doing 8 years.
Yeah.
But with the war, you have to stay. You have no say in that.
Yeah. Yeah, they needed all the reservists they could. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, good for you for serving your country
I
like
did.
that.
I
That's
did,
wonderful.
and to be honest with you, I didn't think I was coming back.
I'm sure it was frightening.
It was. It was. It's an experience that you would never forget. So, yeah. But I had faith, and I put all my trust in God. I figured He took me there, and He'll bring me back.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I'm glad that you came back to the college.
Yeah,
that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that is something to be proud of. My goodness. Well, wow. And now, I didn't know you were going to tell me about going to war in the midst of your, hearing about your memories of working at the college.
Of me being here. Yes.
Well, my next question was, what were some of the biggest challenges about working at Randolph-Macon? But I guess going to war and coming back, some of the challenges here might not have seemed.
That was my biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say they might have seemed small compared to life or death situations you were dealing with.
Exactly. A lot of changes up the college. I saw a lot of change. But my very early years of the college, for me, I was kind of hyped. So I had a lot of energy. So every day to me was like a workout. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, we did a lot of lifting, a lot of toting, and everything was like a workout. One of my down issues were I was here working, and I used to eat a lot of crazy stuff. So I used to eat like you know how you get the Kool-Aid mix and all that stuff. Yeah. I used to eat stuff like that, and had this bad pain in my stomach, and it kind of come and go. And I was like, okay. So I was here at work. I mean, still working, bent over. Yeah. Working. Everybody was like, you need to go to the doctor. And I was like, no, I'm all right. It'll pass. Yeah. I kept on working. And so finally the next week, because I let it pass a week. And finally the next week, as I said, I got off from work at 4 o'clock. And I said, I think I'm going to the doctor. I went to the doctor. My appendix had burst.
You had worked through that.
I had worked.
Oh, my goodness.
And basically, that'll kill you.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to the emergency room that night, and I had surgery immediately.
Oh, my
goodness. When I got into the hospital. And I was there for 3 months because I waited.
Oh, because what, infection?
Infection.
Uh-huh. Oh, my goodness.
Infection. So I was out of work for 3 months.
Oh, my goodness. And when was that?
Let's see, I was 18. Oh, God.
Oh, you were a young person then.
I was young.
Oh, that was right after you'd come. And that was in the 80s. Yeah, okay.
And so, I went through that, and I was out. I lost a lot of weight. Actually, they didn't think I was going to make it. So, but the grace of God, I did. Mm-hmm. And when I got better, I came back to work. They told me I could come back to work, but they tell you you can't come back lifting and stuff like that. Well,
and that was your job.
I was Superman, and I figured if they said I could come back to work, I could come back to work and lift. So I started lifting. A little too early, but I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I have a few scar tissues, but beyond that, I'm okay.
Oh, my goodness. You're like the cat with 9 lives, Lionel.
Gosh. Oh, gosh. But, my biggest thing, I've tried to be there for everybody. I try to support them as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But, because back when I started, everything was a group effort. Mm-hmm. You work together as a team. It wasn't like you call this person or you call that person. If you were there and you could get the job done, you would do it. Mm-hmm. And that's just the training I've had. So I try to be there for the employees the same way. Mm-hmm. If I'm there and I can help them, I'll do it. Because the time it takes for me to find somebody, get somebody to come over and all that, we can have it done.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the people who work for you appreciate that attitude.
Yeah, but we have much respect for each other.
Well, that's good. I like what you said about respect earlier.
Yeah.
Well, what is one of your favorite stories about working at Randolph-Macon?
Well, I guess there's many. I have, out of all the years that I've been here, I've never been bored. How some people get bored with their job. It's been a lot of stuff every day just to deal with, and I've never had a boring day that, to make you where you don't want to work there anymore or whatever like that. Yeah. So It's been good for me.
Yeah.
Very good for me. I've seen a lot of people come. I've seen a lot of people go. I've seen a lot of presidency change.
The campus has changed.
The campus has changed tremendously, and we're still changing.
Yes.
So
you can see
that means growth. So it's been very good. I think my biggest thing now is working towards retirement.
You thinking about that?
Kind of, and then not.
Well, you've been here 40 years.
I know it because
that-
this is like a routine, to get up and
Yeah.
do. And I'm sure I could find things I've already, and ponder in the back of my head. If you were to retire, what would you do?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of churches that have volunteer work and services to do. So you have your homeless people out there. So something like that, I think I would do to take my time up. But maybe at age 62, and I'm not there yet.
Yeah. You got a little ways to go. So that's
I'm not there yet.
Yes, it doesn't hurt to think about it for a little while, because then you can plan.
Yes.
Just be pondering and planning ahead. Good.
But my biggest goal has always been I wanted to see my kids grown.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to be employed and to take care of them, to see them grown and be on their own, and they are.
Good.
So, and they're doing well for themselves.
Good.
So, I'm good with that. And then the employees, I really like to see the employees make it to a place where they can retire and enjoy some of that hard work that they put in.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that would be gratifying to see.
So that's been one of my goals. And people are like, well, why are you always running so hard? Why are you always? Because I want to see people. I feel like your team make you. You don't make the team. Your employees make you. If they get out there and make the effort and do what you need them to do, and if you can assist them or show them the gratitude, it makes you.
Well, you've got some very good supervisory instincts, I think. And,
and I love people.
Yeah.
I love people.
Yeah, you can tell.
In school, you probably would have thought, many people told me I was conceited. I wasn't. I just didn't talk a lot. Now I talk more. So, I engage more with people, and, I try to support people. If they tell me that they have something going on, they want me to attend, I try to go and support them.
Yeah. Well, that attitude, I want to just note for the record, was rewarded when you received the Yellow Jacket Award.
I got the Maryland Gibbs Award.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I never got the Yellow Jacket Award.
I'm sorry. I had this. Well, I found this on the website. So
it was the Maryland Gibbs Award.
Well,
yeah,
I stand corrected. The Maryland Gibbs Award. Well, that's
it was a
very
a great honor,
because that is for all this.
And
staff
I thought it was for someone else.
Oh, when they were describing.
When I was told about somebody getting the Maryland Gibbs Award, they just told us that somebody at the plant would get it, and I thought it was another young lady there that was going to get the award, and I stayed back, and I was here to support her, and I'm sitting there, and she stayed back, and my boss, he stayed back, Tom Dwyer, and we're sitting there, and they're reading all this stuff off, and I was like, that don't sound like her.
Who is that?
And I'm sitting there listening, and sometimes when people are reading stuff off,
right,
you don't apply it to yourself,
especially if you had someone else in mind.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, I was like, that don't sound right. And it got to the place that they kept on going, and they were describing me, and they was talking about going to the job. It's when I realized they were talking about me. And I was sitting there, I looked at both of them, and I was like, oh, y'all got to be kidding. Like that, because... Yeah. And she was like, well, I couldn't tell you.
And then they're smiling.
And I was thinking it was her.
Well, congratulations on
so
that.
that was very exciting. That was very exciting. And I knew Marilyn.
Oh, that makes it even more special. I knew
Marilyn. Yes, I used to pick with her when, she would come into Peel Hall in the morning. So, I knew her well.
Well, that makes it even more special.
It did.
And that's a wonderful award.
It's
given once a year to one person, and that's very impressive.
It was very exciting. Now, a venture. You said a highlight of my life up here. There was a young lady, and I cannot think of her name, but she was a library assistant. And she planned, as she said, a Randolph Macon talent program.
Oh.
And, oh gosh, I can't even think of the year. I think it was like 1996, somewhere around there.
Okay, so this is before I came. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. All
But
right, say more.
she had this talent program, and it was supposed to be here in Blackwell Auditorium, so she heard that I sung a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And she asked me about being in the program, so I was like, are you sure this is going to be just a Randolph Macon talent program?
Yeah.
And she said yes. So she said, but you need to get your music together, like, to find a blank tape where it's just the music.
Right.
And so you can sing with it. So I said, okay. And she was going to get the music for me. Tape didn't come. The night of the event, which was here at Blackwell, I came and I was go. It was supposed to be like the Apollo. You know how the Apollo do their show or whatever like that. It was like that. So you had to have your support and all the summer workers. I had them come to support me and all this stuff. So it was good. And when I got here that night, she said, "Oh, I meant to tell you I didn't have your music." And I was ready to turn around and go home.
Yeah.
I didn't. I got up there, and there was another friend of mine here that actually played the piano. And I was like, can you get up there and play? Would not play.
What was the song? What were you going to sing?
It was a song that Patti LaBelle did, and it's God's Blessed Child.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And when I got here, there were buses. There were cars everywhere. And my biggest thought was, what have I gotten myself into? This girl had planned a program. She brought this program here that you actually, if you won, you went to the Apollo.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I had the support here.
But so who
I
else
won.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the Apollo. So at the time, there was a guy, he was my supervisor. His name was Mike Ambrosi. And he worked with me at the plant. And if you go to the Apollo, it's in a part of Harlem.
Like on 125th Street or something, right there. Yeah.
It's a different world up there.
Yeah.
So here I am, Mike and myself. We were buddies. We hung. And before he left, I think right after I had joined the military, he left. But he went with me to the Apollo. And we was standing there. When we got there, we were standing there laughing. I said, can you picture this? Here you have a fair-skinned white guy and a black guy standing in the middle of Harlem that don't even look like we belong there.
Uh-huh.
He was, Mike was kind of hardcore, so, I didn't worry about him.
Yeah.
But I did worry about him because after the program was over, they escorted us out the back, so I was coming out the back right at the bus, but he had to come all the way around, and I was like, I'm not getting on the bus till he gets around.
Yeah, because he was in the audience.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they had the music for you when you got there.
They did have the music for me, and we did well, but there was a guy that had just sung that song, and he won big up there. And what I learned is you don't come behind someone.
He sang the same song, God Bless the Child.
And you don't come behind someone that just won big singing that song, which we didn't know it at the time.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
But I got the opportunity to go. I do have a picture of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. That is
so that was exciting.
Yes.
And all that took place right here.
Well, so when she the library assistant who set up this talent show, were other people from Randolph Macon in it? Or had she set that up as a ploy to get you to do it? I was the
only one that volunteered. Nobody else would volunteer.
Okay.
And I don't know if they knew more than I knew.
Right. Was setting you up.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was good. It was a good experience. It was a good venture.
Yes, I would say.
To go there and just even sing on the stage, and then when you see it on TV, it's like, I was there.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, okay. So Lionel, I was just asking about the talent show program and the library assistant, and I wondered if it was Joyce Latney, but tell me.
No, it wasn't Joyce Latney. She was a very interesting lady to me, because when I started in the department, Joyce actually worked under me.
Oh.
Until they could get her switched over as a librarian.
Uh-huh.
But Joyce, you never knew she worked in housekeeping, because she never would dress like she worked in housekeeping. She always dressed like she was a librarian. and Joyce, she switched over. They actually got it switched some years later, after she had been there for a while. So she actually worked for her and Fran Grimes, which is actually Deborah Smith's aunt.
Oh, I did not know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, because Deborah's now in the library.
Deborah's now in the library, and that's why she wanted to get transferred over here, because she wanted to follow her aunt's steps.
Oh, okay. And then they both came, and Flavia Owens back to her, hired down in the library as
exactly. But Joyce has been through a lot. She's still living, but she's been through a whole lot, and she's still getting along.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Very slow, but she's getting along.
Yeah. Very good.
But no,
she's not the one who set up.
She is not. This young lady came in, and she was a punk rock style type person. She was real tall, slim young lady, black girl, and she used to wear her hair in the punk rock style. And I cannot think of her name to save my life.
That's all right. I'll go through some library things and see. But I was just wondering. But
she used to work over there where Lily works.
Oh, okay.
In that
area. So Lily might know.
She may, because Lily's been here for a while.
Yeah, Lily's been here since 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might have been in that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
She may remember her.
Yeah.
But she was the one that got me involved.
Well, good on her.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Well, any lessons, particularly that you've learned from your time at Randolph-Macon? You've mentioned several already.
Yeah, I have. I think Randolph-Macon has helped build a lot of character in me. It's helped me open my eyes. I tell people all the time, if you come to Randolph-Macon and you can't work here, it's gonna be hard to survive out there in the real world. Randolph-Macon is not the easiest place to work, but it's not the hardest either. And when I started, everybody was like family. Everybody looked out for each other. They if something was to happen, everybody knew about it. For as someone's in the hospital or there was a new employee that come in. It used to be whatever building we went to, I knew everybody in that building. We greeted each other. We knew everybody, and it was a team effort. And by knowing everybody, it worked even better because you had that direct contact with them, and you knew a lot of the students, and you knew you could communicate with them. There were times you come here in the mornings, and there would be students for whatever reason sitting out back crying or what have you. We knew who to contact, who to get in touch with, and we would tell the student, hold on there. We'd stay there with them while we make the call. So we were very involved with the students and so forth. Because there were times that they had to transfer. They had to move them out of their room and put them with someone else, because they didn't get along.
Yeah.
But, just to see a student sitting out there crying or whatever, that meant a lot to us because any of us would have stepped in.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and as you've already said, it meant a lot to the students.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. And we used to tell the parents when the parents came, especially if it was their first year, we would tell them that we were the parents away from home. If there's anything going on, and a lot of parents would actually give us their phone number, their name and phone numbers, that if something went on or if we saw something that shouldn't been happening, call them.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah.
Can't do that now, but we did then. I've seen some parents show up.
Yeah.
You know, when that kid won't do what they were supposed to be doing, they would show up.
Well, maybe they still do that, but anyway.
I think some do, but it's more of a situation of the kids are so cradled. You know, their expectations are very high.
Yeah.
So it's a little different world
Yeah.
out there, but you know that's with the millennium.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, the
So we learn to
expectations-
deal with that
yeah,
too.
Expectations are different.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we learn to deal with that and work with it. You know, you got to change with time.
Well, you've seen that in
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
almost 40 years.
Yeah.
So, Lionel, in recent years, I've been researching the desegregation of Randolph-Macon College, and I've interviewed several of the early black students. So I was going, since you've been here such a long time, of course, you came in '80 after we had desegregated. But tell us
Yes.
about what you remember about the makeup of the student body, and as that's changed over time.
The makeup of the student body has changed tremendously. When I started, I think I could count only 2 blacks here.
Students.
Black
Yeah,
students,
yeah.
yes, that was here attending school. And they just felt, when you would talk to them separately, they felt like, as the saying that I heard was, you had to be gray to go to school here.
In between.
And
you
I
mean?
couldn't understand at first what they were saying when they
Yeah.
said that, and it was like you have to lose yourself to go to school here, to be a student here, you know, especially being an African American. And I was like, okay, but there was a lady, and I cannot remember her name. She was a professor. She used to be over in Thomas Branch.
Oh, Charlotte.
Charlotte Parish. Charlotte
No,
Parish.
not Parrish. Is it Parrish? Charlotte. Anyway, go ahead. I'll remember.
Is it Charlotte Parish or Charlotte Fitzgerald?
Fitzgerald.
Okay,
Charlotte,
Charlotte Fitzgerald, and I remember her very well. And I remember she looked into bringing in more black students to the college, and she did until her health failed.
Yeah.
And she was very strict with them. If she saw them doing stuff that she didn't think was appropriate for the college, she went after them. And I've seen it on many occasions that, you know, she would definitely correct them. You know, but Charlotte, she was a sweet lady with her mind straight and focused on what she was planning to do. Very sweet lady until her health failed her. But yeah.
So, as you saw this, more African American students come over the years, what are some of the changes you've seen just in the student body, or they are feeling at home here, as you said?
I think now we have a lot of black students here that do feel at home. You know, you can see them in bonding, and not just with their own race, but with white as well as Hispanic or whatever. You can see a lot of that going on now to where it didn't used to be. And, you know, believe it or not, it was just as bad on campus. You had people working in the business office. I'm not going to name any names, but that just didn't find it appropriate for whites and blacks to be together. And have actually came out of their mouth and said that. And I've seen a student that was dating, it was a white guy dating a black female, and they actually got married. I know 3 of them that actually got married later on down the road.
Yeah.
But this student, he stood up for her.
Yeah.
I mean, he, you know, so I've seen it, and that was right there in the business office. So, you know, it was all around.
So
But
the change has to be, it's not just the student
right.
body, but the whole
Right,
campus.
exactly.
Has to,
It
right.
has to apply all over. You know, and that's something I never had a problem with, because my grandmother was white.
Oh, okay.
My dad's mom. And so I never had an issue with that.
Yeah.
They grew up on the plantation, which was called Wickham Plantation, down there off of Route 54. And so, you know, how can you be judgmental?
Right, right. Yeah. So you have seen a lot of change in that way.
I have. The school has really grown. I've seen the numbers change. as far as the black students that attend here and other students that attend here. So it's changing a lot. It's changing a lot, and I really feel after Charlotte, I really feel that President Lindgren had a big play in that too. I've seen he has different strategies of bringing in and trying to keep the college going.
Yeah.
And in doing so, his agenda, I think he's gone back to find a lot of students that were here and to help get them support.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of successful black students that went to school here. So, you know, why not utilize everybody
Yeah.
and make it work?
Right. Right.
So, and I think that's what he's doing. So, you know, kudos to him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any final memories or stories that you'd like to share of your time at Randolph-Macon?
No bad stories that I can remember. I don't have any. I just can't say I've had any bad times here, you know?
That's good.
And I don't think everybody can say that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I just don't, you know, the little stuff that if something went down or went down wrong,
Yeah.
it was so minor
Yeah.
that, you know, it really didn't phase. And that goes back to me telling my dad. I used to tell my dad, I said, I know you my daddy, but anything that goes on here at Randolph-Macon, I have to handle it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he respected me enough to stay back out of it. He would never say nothing here
Yeah.
at the school. So, you know.
Yeah. How about any funny stories? Anything you remember that just we think about and chuckle?
I'm sure it is. Just can't think
Yeah.
of it right now, but I'm sure it is because we've had a lot of adventures. I can remember when I was helping them do setups. We also used to have to clean the roofs,
Oh my goodness.
all the roofs. And I remember the guy Bootsy that I was telling you
Yeah.
about. Bootsy loved to talk. He loved to talk, and sometimes I think he forgot what he was doing. And so I was up on top of the Mayberry house over there beside campus safety, cleaning the roof. And as I was getting ready to come down the ladder took off, and there was no Bootsy.
Uh-oh.
And I'm up there hanging by the gutter. I'm up there hanging by the gutter and trying to hold the ladder because I caught it.
Yeah. Oh.
But I was trying to pull it back up enough to get on it. And somebody grabbed Bootsy and pointed to him. You might want to get over there and help him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't laugh then, but I was, after I got down, I laughed. Laughed
goodness.
about it, but it was just adventures like that,
Yeah.
just different adventures like that. We've had little small stuff like that happen, or stuff that like I just don't believe that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Those kind of things they say, that saying all in a day's work, all that kind of stuff.
yeah. But we didn't have the protocols of safety like we have now. We do safety training once a month and so forth. Back then, it was like either you knew it or you didn't.
Yeah. Sounds like it's a good thing, though.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I've had people mix chemicals, which that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
You do not mix chemicals. And I had one lady, she mixed chemical and the whole house cleared. And she was standing there like, what? What did I do? And they were like, you just mix that chemical together. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Because you're creating a bomb. So we went through all the adventures like that, and just a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
A lot of laughs. And back when I used to work with the old group, we used to just sit in the halls after our lunch, like during our lunch breaks or whatever like that. And I would just sit there and listen to the older people talk about all the stuff they were doing. I was like, are you serious? I'm young, and
Yeah.
I'm listening to what you all talking about, and I was like, are you serious? But it was funny. It was funny sitting there listening to it. But they really taught, like I said, about the respect, they taught me a lot of respect.
Yeah. Well, it sounds
Lot
like
of
you really
respect.
learned. That's a lesson you certainly learned.
Yeah.
And passed
yeah,
on to you.
Yeah. I tried to pass it on. You get different people, especially this day and time. So it's a different world dealing with people coming from other areas. Because mostly everybody here was, when I started working, it was family. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not. I mean, really family, related family.
Mm-hmm. Well, that can cause its own problems.
Well, but back then it didn't.
Yeah. Good.
Nowadays it does, because when you got too much family here, and if somebody gets seriously ill or something like that, you lose not one person, but you lose several people. Mm-hmm. So we kind of got away from that. I've even had husband and wife work together.
Oh,
more than one.
Interesting.
And it worked well.
Yeah,
it worked well. They had enough respect for their jobs that they didn't let that interfere. Mm-hmm. So it's been an interesting time, very interesting time.
Well, it sounds like it, and I really appreciate your sharing those memories with us on Macon Memories. So thank you.
It's been a great time here at Randolph-Macon. As the president Lingren said, it's a great day at Randolph-Macon.
Well, it is. Well, Lionel Abrams, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing all of that with Macon Memories.
Thank you.